Hello everyone, Larry with Rustic Retreats here. So we are going to continue with part two of my testimony. We're going to pick up where I was in junior high, ninth grade, and my friend Steve and the rest of us had just left for Christmas vacation. But I managed to meet a really good friend. His name was Steve. Now, Steve actually stuck up for me, and he was actually teaching me, okay, this is Detroit. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to dress. This is how you need to, you need to act because it's a totally different culture. Right. I said, well, great. Fine. I met somebody that things are looking up. I can start making friends now. Christmas time again, we go away for Christmas. We come back and know Steve, and it's like we didn't know what was going on. And they announced that he was killed by his dad. Oh, just devastating. I don't know how I made it through that year. I hated school. I mean, literally hated it. I graduated somehow because they had a graduation for us. So I don't even, I made it. So then I went on to Redford High School. Now, Redford High School was a school of 5,000 kids for 3 grades. My class was like 1,250 kids. Totally different. It was awful. I hated being there. We were locked in between classes. We had armed guards walking the halls because there was so much violence. We had rides outside. You could buy any drug you want outside the door. It was just a horrific experience that I just, most of the time you couldn't get a bus. I had to walk. It's a 3-mile walk each way. Occasionally I'll get a ride, but most of the time I didn't. That didn't help. That led me stopping and buying, bad magazines that I shouldn't have been buying. That's how, some of my pornography things started. It was a very difficult time there. And, I managed to graduate that, but it was a very dark, difficult time for me. I became more and more of a loner. Even though I had friends that went to church and they were, again, either younger or older than me. But it was through one of these kids that I struck up a relationship with, and we became friends. And then he showed me his dad's collection of pornography. And unfortunately, this person sat on the board of the church. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, he's a board member. This must be okay. And that's what I'm learning. I'm learning.
How was your relationship with your dad at this time?
Horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We were constant fighting. We couldn't stand to be around each other. He would want to help me, and it's like he would show me how to do it, and I couldn't do it right. He would micromanage it to the point that it's like it's pointless.
Yeah.
I chose to do things when he wasn't around, just so,
Yeah. So that you looked for ways to escape that.
Exactly. And I found that the more I hid, the better, because he couldn't find me. And I didn't have to worry about anything else because, I became more introverted. I just, I decided that, hey, if I'm going to be hurt, I might as well be lonely, because at least lonely, it's only me who's going to hurt me. So we left Detroit after 5 years, and we went down to Dearborn Heights. And at that point, I had got into Detroit College of Business, which was a private college. It was going there that gave me some freedom. It was going there that allowed me to be gone. I had to work full time to go there because it was a private college. So I worked 35 hours a week. I worked Saturdays. I worked every day. It was very regimented for me. I'd be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, be to school by 8 to 1 at school, 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock at work, and then from work home, do my studies and do the same thing over and over. So it was very convenient for me not to see my dad, and that worked out good for me. It didn't work out always that great. He would still get on me sometimes, but at least I wasn't seeing him as much.
And so with the rejection that you had experienced growing up, now all of a sudden you're in this extended period of rejection, not being able to find work, and maybe any lead that you did find, it was with a no.
Yep.
We have others, but that had this deep psychological move in you. And so so 4 years in, what ended up changing? What changed during that time?
I think I got to a point where I had to be controlling my destiny.
Yeah.
I had to be in control. Unfortunately, a lot like my father.
Yeah.
But without me being in control, I can't let the world, take what I have.
Yeah, which is kind of what we're talking about in this series.
Right.
You can't control this. I mean, we can't handle it,
Yeah.
nor can we control it. So how did that begin to manifest itself? And
Well, when I did find work, I found work at a company that I'd worked for during college. And I went back to work for them, and I worked for them for about 3 years. And they got a new president. He said, "Well, we're going to move the company to Arizona." So he said, "Okay, everybody, you got about 6 months. You need to find a different job because you're going to be out of work." So the times were better. Praise God for that, because I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have work. I found a job. It was about an hour and a half drive each way. So I go again, another 35-mile commute each way. I would be up and out by 5 because, on my shift started, I had to be there by 6:37. I was a supervisor. I was expected to stay to 5, 6 o'clock at night. I kind of made a commitment at that point in my life, once this company moved, that this was never going to happen to me again. After I found this new work, I started my own company. I said, you know what? I've got to have some control of my life. I got to be able to make it. I've got to, I've got to have that control. I just can't deal with going through this. But in the whole scheme of things, starting a company at that time, plus driving the commute. So now instead of working and being done at 6, I'm being done at 9, 10 o'clock at night, because I work part-time at night for my new company while I work full-time during the day. So I really never saw my wife. So that just kind of just made it very, very difficult. We were singles living in the same house. She had several issues that came out. She had some mental issues that came out, some abuse issues that both her mom and dad had abused her that I didn't know about before that time. That all started to surface. She was bipolar. She'd be, would be nice one minute, and you turn around and she'd be throwing a book at you. And it's like, I just can't deal with this anymore. I can't deal with this kind of life. I got to have some saneness or some semblance of being sane. It was affecting my daytime job. I couldn't even get, I had such a long drive, and then to be there to work and to think about all the extra stuff I have to do, it just added and added and added to it. There was also that time that I needed to escape. I just had to escape the relationship, so I started going back to see, topless clubs and stuff again. That was my escape. That was my way of getting, I guess, a normal for me. I had been accustomed to it before, so it became a normal for me again. I ended up divorcing my wife in 1995. And I really felt bad because I loved her down deep. I even, I rented a room to her because she couldn't find a place to stay. She wasn't mentally capable. So I actually rented part of my house to her and allowed her to stay there for many years because I cared for her. I didn't,
Then in the midst of this, even that, everything that you're now in control, things begin to fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
And why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because you went through some great economic failure, and go ahead and talk through some of that.
So during this whole process I had 10 or 12 years of strife during this whole process. My first wife and myself, her brother had a child, and we were godparents. He passed at 11 months old. One of the hardest funerals I've ever gone to. I was the lone pallbearer. And I can remember vividly walking up, picking up this, and it was almost a cooler-sized casket, and carrying it by myself to the hearse, and that really affected me. That was just one of the things. After I started the business, I decided at age 40, and this was 1998, that it's time to leave. I'm making more money working for myself than I was working for this other company, so I went out on my own. The first year I didn't get a paycheck. Let me tell you, that's scary. But I made it, and I did it all on my own. And I was so proud of that.
Yeah. So then things began to change, but you were still faced with more pain.
Oh, yeah.
More hurt that actually brought you to a breaking point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as we progressed, I became what you would say a player. I didn't want to be hurt again. I didn't want to get married again. I wanted my cake and eat it too. I wanted to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it and how I wanted to do it. It didn't matter who you were. I didn't care. I didn't care if I hurt you. It didn't matter because I was hurt. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching part 2. I'm hoping that this testimony is helping you in some way. Please give us a thumbs up or a like. Also, leave your comments below. And stay tuned for part 3.